I'll make a brand new start of it in old New York.
Hi everyone and welcome to Bear Clooney Watches channel. Please don't forget to subscribe and support Genuine Watch Enthusiast channel. Support someone who is just like you. If you hear any noises in the background, I apologize ahead of the time because there is a carnival not far from me, which is kind of nice to see life returning after pandemic. But the noise might be interrupting us occasionally. Sorry about that. As you could see from the introduction to today's video, I am presenting a very unique classical timepiece coming from Rolex. And this is not the Rolex watch that's going to excite many of those who see Rolex as a statement piece. Many of those who are buying Rolex as an investment watch. Many of those who are aspiring to own Rolex to impress others. But this timepiece will impress a genuine watch enthusiast and those who actually appreciate watches. You know, it's an interesting thing that watch like this, which is fundamentally Rolex, is not perceived as a fundamentally Rolex watch today. And why am I saying fundamentally Rolex? Well, this watch was produced by Rolex way before Sub, way before GMT, way before Daytona. The first Rolex Prince was issued in 1928. Considering that Rolex was founded in 1905, it is very clear why am I saying that this is one of the original fundamental timepieces coming from the Geneva Giant. How do I see this piece? I think my introduction quite descriptively show you how I see it. I'm a big fan of art. I personally love Art Deco. And this watch is as Art Deco as it comes. In all honesty, it's like wearing a piece of art on your wrist. Watch is beautiful, and it contains in its core, in its DNA, something very Art Deco-ish New York style to me. And this is why I utilize Chrysler Building, which is one of my favorite architectural pieces from New York, from actually entire world. I think that this watch, when I look at it, reminds me exactly of that feel. You know, staying with my son, that was 3 years ago at the New Yorker Hotel, which is also very Art Deco built style, and then seeing the Art Deco elements from that favorite city of mine. Now I see it in this watch, and this is absolutely fantastic, especially because I never really thought I'm going to purchase this timepiece, but it came available as a full set in awesome condition at a fair value, and I did not want to pass. This is a watch that stays with me forever. Truly. This is not a watch that I see as investment, and I'm not really opposed to buying timepieces that produce increase in value. This is a watch I enjoy from the artistic and aesthetic point of view. Now, how about we jump into Bear Clooney Watches studio and take a closer look at this gorgeous timepiece. Let's go. And here we are at Bear Clooney Watches studio, and we're going to take a closer look at this Cellini Rolex Prince. Rolex that is not typical Rolex. Rolex that many Rolex fanboys will not even recognize as a Rolex. Keep in mind, I'm using the term fanboys rather than watch enthusiasts. Rolex that's not a statement piece, Rolex that's not investment piece, Rolex that is unusual in its shape and form, in its design, Rolex that's unusual because it actually displays this beautiful movement, Rolex that is not robust, it's not meant to be in the oyster case, it's not meant to be dived with, it's not meant to be perceived as a perfect sports timepiece. Rolex that by its configuration and its design on the wrist might first make association to Jaeger-LeCoultre reversal watch. Yet, this is as fundamental Rolex as they come. As I mentioned in my intro, this watch was first produced by Rolex in 1928. Which is significantly earlier than any other iconic Rolex timepieces. The Prince was, and it's still today, a rectangular wristwatch, which is point of difference when it comes to assumption and stereotype associated with Rolex watches. And the two first models, the famous 971 and 1343 watches, both used a rectangular movement made by Aigler, which supplied both Rolex and Gruen at that time. The movement used for the Prince watches were rectangular and designed to allow the use of a large mainspring barrel that supplied a better than 2-day power reserve and relatively large balance. The original Princes also predate the general use of a center seconds in wristwatches, but they do have a very large, well, relatively speaking, second subdial, which is what's led to them sometimes being referred as doctor watches. For obvious reasons. I mean, because of the relative ease the larger dial provides for such a chores as timing, respirations, or pulse beats. So, what's the main characteristics of this watch? Well, first and foremost, which is relatively unusual for Rolex, it is the high-grade movement. Beautiful movement, beautifully decorated. Take a look. I'll try to focus here so you can see a little better. I love when movement is actually designed and made to fit the case appropriately. Often rectangular watches, Cartier Tank for example, is not movement is not made to perfectly service the rectangular watch. This is quite impressive, to be very honest with you. Next thing that's typical for this watch is the rectangular case and large subdial for the running seconds. There were actually 5 models issued with the very similar idea, same design premise. Rectangular case, prominent second subdial, and then the part that excites me the most, in each one there was basically very distinct and clearly Art Deco influenced design motif. It's funny, it's not funny, what am I saying? It's actually beautiful how the finish of the movement translates into Art Deco motif on the watch, and I'm pointing to you exactly what I'm talking about. So as I said, this is what we like to call dress timepiece. It's not what we usually associate with Rolex. Cellini today plays that role. Unfortunately, all the Cellinis are discontinued except the moon phase one. So it will be interesting to see where is Rolex moving and going with the dress pieces. When I talk about this watch, I focus on following things. Beautiful rectangular case, the fact that the movement is properly designed for this case and beautifully finished. Also, the previously mentioned Art Deco motif that is transferred from dial to the lug section to the movement, or maybe from the movement to the dial to the lug section, depends how you see it. The very unique look of the watch, the classical beauty of the watch. And you know what? I mean, we just have to admire this movement, this caliber 7040. That's another unusual thing for the Rolex, the manual winding movement, which is not a typical thing for Rolex. And, this is a 21 jewel COSC certified chronometer caliber with Breguet overcoil and 72-hour power reserve, which is much in tradition and solidly following the footsteps of the original high precision prints from the Deco era. So, I love this Gaudron circulaire on this 18-karat white gold Rolex prints. I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. And I think this is what makes this watch, frankly, not just beautiful, but remarkable. So, there you go. This is my perception of this watch. And I'm going to show you how it actually looks on my 7.25 inches wrist. You can see the clasp is also pure glass, and it is white gold. It wears gorgeous on the wrist. It's a proper dress watch, proper classical timepiece. This is something that you can wear in the office, in the opera, theater, going out for the fine dining, and having some beautiful fine Cuban cigars and refined French wine or cognac, whatever is to your taste. What's to my taste is this beautiful watch, which is definitely, in my humble opinion, holding a beautiful DNA of a classical timepiece from the Deco era, and it certainly represents quite an achievement for Rolex itself, Geneva Swiss watch giant. So that would be it. Let's just go back to Bear Clooney's cave and wrap up this video. Dear friends, I hope you enjoyed this watch presentation. This classical timepiece is truly remarkable, in my humble opinion. And I hope I did it justice presenting it to you. At the end, I just want to remind you all to not forget to like this video, not forget to subscribe to my channel, and if you can, please comment below. I try to respond to as many as I can. All the best to all of you from Bear Clooney. Thank you.